Hi, this is Vinod from Vayana Network. I look forward to share some thoughts with you with regards to our understanding about the changes, massive changes that we might see starting July 1 as GST gets rolled out in this country. And one of the key sectors which might get influenced dynamically is the fast-moving consumer goods or FMCG space. As one can imagine, FMCG is an industry which pretty much touches the daily life of all the consumers and citizens around. And even from an industrial point of view or a corporate point of view, it just involves a massive amount of change for all the stakeholders involved, right from the point of your smallest of suppliers to the point where few of those millions of outlets where your goods get stocked and eventually retailed out to the end consumer from. So just to reflect upon what kind of changes does that entail. Moving to GST is not just about getting adjusted to the new rates from a tax point of view, which of course are expected to be beneficial for the larger consumer segment. So it obviously as a sector will be a very welcome change for all consumers. But from a state of preparedness point of view or from a state of readiness point of view, it means a number of changes that the entire ecosystem needs to go through. Typically for an FMCG player, there are a large number of supplier elements involved. A number of them are today quite large and organized, but this is probably one of those industries which has a very, very long tail, a substantial long tail of suppliers, which basically is referring to all their SME, MSME and even SSI units who both at a central level and at a regional level sometimes work with these FMCG companies for supplying various goods and services. This will include right from the packaging and printing guys to the kind of logistics players involved. Likewise, on the distribution of goods that these companies manufacture and sell for each of these brands, there's typically a long chain involved of super stockists, distributors, and eventually dealers or the end retailers, and which in itself has a wide variety of players involved. So if you look at the last mile outlets through which people go and buy FMCG goods, this includes all your modern trade and modern bazaars as such, to eventually all your community shops, to the last mile pan and BD shops as well, which do retail a lot of consumer goods or FMCG goods. If you look at their acclimatization with regards to systems, electronic modes of data capturing, or for that matter their practices on tax filing so far, it's quite easy to guess that they were probably not all of them were right up the curve. So there are challenges in getting the last level or last leg of retailers up the curve, in getting them comfortable with capturing the data on a regular basis electronically, and this data refers to both their purchases and their sales. While sale to end consumers, what is from a GST parlance called as B2C sales, B2C invoices, is really not a big requirement. All it needs is a summary return to be filed at the end of the month. But specifically on the purchase side, to ensure you capture all of your inputs very clearly, to record your purchase invoices that you receive either from your distributors of those goods for those companies or from wholesalers that you may go and procure these goods from, because India's distribution system is quite complex, and one of the key pillars in those distribution systems, specifically in rural markets, includes the wholesalers or the larger traders in those markets. So the entire chain now needs to get into the habit of capturing all of these records correctly every single time they are doing an inward of goods, capturing the relevant details of those suppliers from their GST and numbers to the HSN codes of each of these items. And let me take actually a pause here. If you look at the on an average FMCG industry, given the number of brands that operate in a diverse country like India, we are talking about thousands of SKUs that need to be captured relevantly with regards to their HSN codes, with regards to the tax rates applicable to each of those items as received from the respective suppliers. So one of the key requirements for this industry to step up and be GST ready is to have their systems put in place, which will start with as good as having a basic hardware, maybe a small computer terminal through which you can capture these data points, and a very easy solution where that basic captured data can be converted into GST fileable returns. We clearly see an emergence of a certain a number of players in this space, which will help navigate the retail distribution players on this journey towards becoming GST ready. And Vayana in itself is obviously quite keen to play a role in that space. We are working with a number of players who are eventually connecting with all these retailers in various capacities, right from giving them tech solutions to enabling getting them easy solutions on their tax filings. So IT readiness, data readiness is going to be quite key, and we believe if this segment, if this industry can move up the curve quickly, and to which effect we are seeing a lot of efforts also being put in by the government. Various industry associations, trade associations are today carrying out seminars, making people aware, making the retailers and shopkeepers aware about what these changes will mean for them, and how conveniently can they move up in this regime, which once set will give them immense benefit, because eventually the cost benefit is expected to move on to the consumers, and it should lead to a decent double-digit growth in consumer spending on FMCG goods. So in that journey, we hope to play a role in terms of enabling as many traders and retailers through our partner service providers, and we look forward to continuously updating you about more details as things evolve starting July 1. Thanks.